to let Zoe spoil you. So I finally got round to watching the Death Note movie. I know I went into it really kind of worried, and I was expecting not great things. I wasn't expecting it to be so not Death Note. One of my biggest problems with it is not the fact that it's like just remade like a cherished like anime and manga for me and one of my favourite fandoms from the anime and manga community. It's not the fact that like they've remade that, it's the fact that they remade it without really a point for remaking it. The good remakes rely on adapting it for a modern audience, trying to tell something new, trying to do something different with the characters that wasn't seen in the original, just anything. This one didn't, and it also didn't follow the manga or the anime, so it just seemed kind of like a pointless excuse to make a Death Note film. I think it took 3 minutes into the film and I was already like, this is the most stupid thing I've seen. Now, it did have ups and downs, and there are some good things about it. I'm not going to totally bash it, because it's not terrible. It's not awful, it's not as bad as Ghost in the Shell, it's not as bad as that awful Dragon Ball Z film they made. It's not even the worst remake of something. It's not as bad as Total Recall or RoboCop or some of the other terrible remakes out there. But what it is quite simply a little bit like vapid and uninteresting. It misses the point completely. Now, the reason I love Death Note so much is because not only is it a very intense and clever cat and mouse supernatural thriller, is because it exposes a lot about social commentary. And one of the things I love the most about anime and manga is how it comments on cultural and societal issues at the time of its making. We all know that I'm obsessed with the Lost Decade and anything produced during that period. Death Note was another title that came out during that period. And there was a very strong reason why Light was a high school student. There's a line in the manga about how it can only be a high school student because anyone younger than that is too innocent, too naive, and not educated enough to know about the problems in Japan and about society, and would probably be a little bit more selfish and act out of wanting to maybe kill people that are directly in their sphere of influence, like bullies and teachers they didn't like. Anyone older than a high school student has already left school and has been exposed to the adult world and is more likely to be corrupted by money, power, sex, politics, and all the other issues that are put upon adults. So a high school student is on that line of between both those worlds, and that was a very major point for why Light was a high school student and why L suspected that Light was a high school student. This Death Note remake, there was no point for him being set in high school. For a start, he was nothing like the Light of the manga. He was not good looking, he was not charismatic, he was not highly intelligent. They say that he's intelligent, but only just by saying it and at the one moment where you saw him doing someone else's test. The other important thing about Light is his sense of justice, because he feels so strongly about the corruption that was going on within Japanese society and the problems that were escalating during this period of the Lost Decade. He felt that he had a societal and cultural responsibility to change the society he lived in, and then eventually he realised how much power he had and he'd go on and change the world. This Light didn't have any sense of justice apart from the triggering effect that was his mother's death. And that could have been interesting. I would have really liked to have seen a film that was about this character's interaction with society and the Death Note. I would have forgiven everything if this was a different character, if it was not L and Light. In fact, it could still have been L, because we know that L was raised in an orphanage that specifically rose children to be the next L. So it still could have been L. If this had just not been Light, if it had just been some American high school student that got hold of the Death Note and therefore was making his own decisions because Root just got bored all over again, and it was a new cycle for a new culture, for a new continent, for a new generation. And that's what upset me the most. It was the fact that it did not address any of the climate and the culture within American society. That's what drove me crazy about the film. Not that it's a remake of Death Note, it's because it missed the point of Death Note, and because it didn't deal with anything interesting to do with modern American society and what's going on there. And yeah, that kind of broke my heart a little bit. And that's why I'm down on this film, because it was a movie that had no point to tell me, it had no story, and it also just underestimated the intelligence of the audience. They made it a 15, and by making a 15 they cut out the kind of slightly younger 12 to like 14 demographic that may have read the manga, but they didn't make it mature enough for it to really appeal to people of 15 and above, and so they kind of made it more feel like Final Destination, and it didn't deal with any of the issues that other genres and shows and books of that kind of level are dealing with. And, you know, 13 Reasons Why is for that demographic and is a far more intelligent take. Even Riverdale has more information on social problems going on within a community, and there's great, fantastic like YA fiction for that specific age group. I mean, The Hunger Games is far more like culturally aware and far more interesting, yet this film was just, it had none of that, and without that kind of social commentary it falls flat for me. I'm going to leave it there for now because I can continue making videos and videos about this, but first and foremost I wanted to get out how much it upset me that a film set in America did not address a single societal issue in America, or a societal issue of people of that generation, when for me that's what it should have done. But for now, this is Lizzie signing off, and I will see you next time. Bye!